Outlining can be confusing because there are so many methods. Do I use a story circle, story diagram, beat sheet, treatment? Nope. I'm here to tell you there's only one outline you'll need to cover all your bases. The 8-sequence outline of unlimited potential, or the ESOUP for short. First, I'll tell you why it's the best method and quickly becoming the industry standard. Next, I'll break down how you can use it for your script. And finally, I'll show you an example using a little indie film called Shrek. You may be thinking, 8 sequences? I thought there were only 3 acts. Well, hold your horses. This is a 3-act structure. Notice that Act 2 takes up most of the movie, so a lot of people split it into Act 2A and Act 2B. Now we're at 4 acts. All we're gonna do is split each act into 2 equal parts, bada bing bada boom, 8 sequences. That's what makes this outline so great. You can convert it to and from almost any other outline people use. So 3-act, 4-act, even Dan Harmon's story circle. Count the slices, yep, it's 8. Now there are a lot of different names and terms for each of these 8 sequences, but they all boil down to the same basic beats. Warning, once you know these beats, you'll never enjoy movies the same way again. Turn back now, innocent one, I'm begging you! Sequence 1, Ordinary Life. This is where we set up our hero, their wants, their needs, and their life before everything changes. No! It's important because if we don't know where the character came from, we'll have no way to track their progress throughout the story. Now, just because it's called Ordinary Life doesn't mean it has to be boring.
Nah, it couldn't possibly.
In Puss in Boots and the Last Wish, this section is a musical number where Puss in Boots sings and dances and fights a giant because that's his ordinary life. Sorry, I love Shrek. Sequence 2 is called The Debate.
I'm not gonna debate you, Jerry. Okay? I'm not gonna sit here and debate.
Since the inciting incident happens at the end of Sequence 1, this is dealing with the immediate aftermath of that. Now, there's a term called the refusal of the call, which basically states that the hero should always say no to going on the adventure at first. I'm gonna call BS on that.
He's got a point. No, he doesn't.
The impulse is right that there needs to be a beat before the adventure truly begins, but the refusal of the call is so limiting, it almost feels like a joke. I can't help you. I'm retired. But please, we need you. I'm retired. Alright, let's do this thing. But you said, what? That was 2 minutes ago. Let's rock. The debate can be anything. Maybe it's an initial investigation stage before your hero realizes they're gonna have to go undercover. Maybe there's a test your hero must pass to prove they're worthy of the mission. My favorite Sequence 2s are ones where the hero exhausts every possible option before reluctantly going on the adventure. That way when the CinemaSins crowd comes for you and says, why didn't they just go to the police? Your horrible fans will be like, they did, but the police didn't believe them. The important thing is that it starts with your hero reacting to the inciting incident, then ends with them ready to go on their journey. Sequence 3, Rocks in the Road. This is also the start of Act 2. You're out of the setup phase and now fully into the overcoming obstacles part of the movie. Sequence 3 is also where you get to deliver on, sorry for quoting Blake Snyder, the promise of your premise. For example, if you're writing a movie about, let's say, a panda learning kung fu, this is where the panda would start learning kung fu. And it'd be funny, because pandas aren't good at kung fu. You're getting a lot of your movie trailer moments in this sequence. But if it's a horror movie, maybe this is where, after your characters have seen and heard spooky things going on, a dead body finally appears. Uh-oh. Whatever it is, it leads directly into Sequence 4, Getting Better. I named this one after the Beatles song. Sequence 4 continues the action of Sequence 3. The obstacles are getting more difficult, but the hero keeps rising to the challenge. Where they were failing miserably before in their new situation, the hero is now starting to get a handle on things. But the most important thing about Sequence 4 is that it contains the midpoint. Ooh, this should be a major shift in your story. In traditional structure, the midpoint most often shows up as a false or incomplete victory. Basically, the hero accomplishes their goal or makes a significant step to do so, only to see it immediately undercut by the antagonist or antagonistic forces. I love movies that do wild stuff with their midpoints and totally change the whole story. Introduce werewolves, kill off a significant character, take a big swing, because whatever your movie was before, it'll never be the same after. Sequence 5, Revenge of the Baddies. Your hero is probably feeling pretty good after that false victory. It's time to humble them. That cool artifact they got, it's a fake, and the bad guys got away with the real one. Or, if it's real, now the bad guy knows about the hero and he's gonna send a team of his very worst guys to take them down. Raise the stakes. The journey isn't over. In fact, it's harder than it's ever been, even when your hero was a noob. Deal with the aftermath of the midpoint, then throw some new problems in the mix too. Sequence 6, I'm not having fun anymore! Named after what your cousin said when he went too hard in a pillow fight and broke his arm. These are the bad times, the sad times. If you've got a crew of heroes, they're probably fighting amongst themselves. The challenges we introduced in 5 are breaking their spirits, and pretty soon they're headed for the very saddest beat of them all. The all is lost. This is where you want to throw as much pain on your hero as humanly possible. They lose a fist fight to the villain, then their cool wizard mentor dies, then all their friends leave them, then F it, send them to jail. The most important part, without getting too into character, because that was the last video, is that somehow this low moment needs to be your hero's fault. They were on the road to changing their ways.
I gotta give it to you, Batman. That was awesome.
And you were awesome,
Thanks.
and you were awesome.
I love compliments.
You were awesome.
But they backslid into an old habit, and they had to pay dearly for it.
You need us.
How many times I gotta tell you? Batman works alone.
Sequence 7, it's the day of the big dance! Also the start of Act 3. I called this sequence, it's the day of the big dance, not because I think every movie should end with a big dance party, I do, but that's beside the point. It's about how everything that happens from here on out needs to lead up to the climax, aka the big dance. So your hero just got their soul crushed, their hopes dashed, their plans ruined. Before they can bounce back, they should probably look inward and address why they made the bad decision they made. Then they have to make things right with their allies, then they need to gear up to go kick ass at the big dance. In real world time, the process could take minutes or hours or days or more. Some movies use this sequence as a long period of downtime, which gives their heroes a lot of breathing room to address their flaws, and really sells how hard they got hit by the all is lost moment. If you go that route though, you're gonna need something to bring all the characters back together under one roof, which is why all roads inevitably lead to Sequence 8, the big dance! It's time for the climax, baby! The heroes learned their lesson, atoned for it, and now they're ready to kick some ass! This is the monster's lair, the crime lord's warehouse. It's the night of the Met Gala, and everyone there is pissed at you. While it's true this final showdown is the highest high point in the movie, it's important to remember that it has its own internal structure too. Within Sequence 8, they should come in hot, struggle more, almost get bested, then, when all hope is lost, they pull through and save the day, using a lesson they learned along the way. Now the biggest mistake I see beginners make with Sequence 8 is thinking after the main story's done, they're gonna have a whole sequence to wrap up their story and show how all their characters have grown. In a book, maybe. In a movie, the moment your main conflict is resolved, you have to get out there in 5 pages, max. And that's max. You should be aiming for 2 or 3. Once you've lost the dramatic tension, nobody cares anymore. Everyone wants a cute, quick ribbon on it, and then they can go home satisfied. Now we know what each sequence is, but how do we turn that into a fully fledged outline? Well, typical screenplays range from 80 to 120 pages, and typical scenes last between 1 and 3 pages. Any longer risks boring the audience. So doing the math on that, we'll want about 5 scenes in each sequence. But to me, having an exact number of scenes feels a little restrictive. Some scenes are super long, some scenes are super short, so what I like to do is just write down 5 things that happen in each sequence. It gives you more flexibility to add short scenes for connective tissue as you go. Or, if I have a super long scene, like the bar scene in Inglourious Bastards, which everyone should watch by the way, it would look like this. See, that's all one long 20-minute scene, but 4 distinct things happen in it. You add that Mike Myers exposition dump up top, and that's Sequence 6 right there.
Let me ask you a question, and be honest.
Are you still a cop?
So we have 8 sequences with 5 things happening each, but how do we fill it? Well, if you watch my video on story beats, which I'll link right here, you'll know that the inciting incident goes at the end of 1, the adventure begins goes at the end of 2, the midpoint goes at the end of 4, and the all is lost goes at the end of 6. And the climax, that's basically all of 8. For each of those major beats, it's likely we'll need a preparation scene and an aftermath scene, so put those in. And then you can go from top to bottom, filling the moments as you see fit. If you find yourself with a lot of gaps, you're probably missing a B plot. The most common B plots are romances and villain check-ins. Romances help humanize your hero, giving them motivations other than completing their goal as quickly as possible. They can also create more tension, like how in Avatar, Jake Sully has to decide between getting a new pair of legs or a blue cat girl wife. Villain check-ins keep your plot moving by showing the antagonist reacting to the hero and working on their own goals. Plus, who doesn't love a good villain scene? I'll cover B plots more in depth in another video someday, but for now, just make sure they're paced out well and that they always move the story forward and don't just feel like detours. Finally, there are some scenes that exist outside of the 8 sequences. These are your prologues and epilogues. Prologues are cool because they can set the tone for your movie better than the ordinary life section can. Examples include spooky thing happening at the beginning of a horror movie, your character's traumatic past, lore dump, villain intro, and so much more. Epilogues are pretty rare, and they better be good because, like I said earlier, audiences really want to get up and go pee after your dramatic question's answered. The best uses of them are flash forwards, sequel teases, and twist endings. But if it ain't La La Land good, then it's Babylon bad, I tell you what. So, 8 sequences, 5 things each, important beats marked, prologue if we need it. Now you know what to do, but just because I love you guys, I'm gonna quickly take you step by step through the process of using this outline, and once again, I'm gonna pretend that I'm writing for the very first time the Oscar-winning motion picture Shrek. You're not going to start out looking at the complete empty outline. It's overwhelming, it's terrible. Step 1, do your 5 story beats. Watch the story beats video if you're confused. For step 2, take these 8 sequences and change their names to fit your movie. You're just looking at the broad strokes of each sequence here. So for Shrek, I would go, bam! Step 3, add a super short, less than a paragraph long description of what happens in each sequence. Feel free to write it in your own voice since it's for your eyes only. It'll look a bit like this. Looking at these 8 paragraphs, it's clear we have the shape of the story, but almost no specific scenes yet. For step 4, keep what you just did, but add the numbers under it. That'll look like this. You should also plug in your story beats into their appropriate places in the sequences, like so. Now, step 5, for me at least, is the hardest part.
Gonna cry?
Yeah, baby!
You're gonna take your little paragraph, break it up, and copy and paste it onto the numbers. It's not gonna be a perfect fit. Some sequences are gonna have blank spaces, others are gonna have way too much stuff going on. It'll be up to you to make some major decisions about how your story will go. Add a prologue if you need it. I know Shrek has one. Add a subplot, dial a subplot back. It doesn't need to appear in every single sequence. Just try to fit the 5 things happen mark as closely as you can. As for how much you should be writing in the outline, the answer is that it depends from movie to movie. Lame, I know. If you're writing a complicated mystery, you might want to have all the details ironed out. But for me, I like to stick to 4 sentences or less per scene. I want to know what needs to happen for the story to progress, but discovering the funny, strange, specific details along the way is one of the most fun parts of screenwriting.
Damn it, how could this have happened?
You're essentially writing against the outline, challenging yourself to be as entertaining as possible. Like in When Harry Met Sally, what needs to happen in the scene is that Harry needs to tell his friend that his wife had an affair and is divorcing him. That's probably what the outline said. But then in Pages, the writer got to go, what if that still happens, but they're at a football game and doing the wave the whole time?
I don't know if I've ever loved you.
Ooh, that's hard.
Obviously, do the amount of planning that feels right for you and for that particular script. When you're done, it'll probably look something like this. Yay, outline! It's important to remember, none of this is final. You can change and rearrange things even after you've started writing too. There's no shame in a re-outline. Me personally, I like to send people my script after I hit the midpoint and ask them what they think is gonna happen next. If it's better than what I have, I steal it. So what? Not a crime. Thank you for watching. I hope this inspires you to finally outline that great movie idea you've had for years, because if you do, you'll be well on your way to having your very own finished screenplay, which would make me so happy. If you stayed this long, you might as well hit the like button. It really helps a new channel like mine to get picked up by our algorithm overlords, and please consider subscribing. I post once a week, and the next video is a deep dive on screenplay format, which you won't want to miss. Love you. Bye.